So now, on the heels of that audio, former President Trump sat for multiple interviews today, and he was pushing a sort of new defense, saying all of this commentary on tape, that was all bravado. Quote, I was talking and just holding up papers and talking about them, but I had no documents.
And I said it very clearly. I had a whole desk full of lots of papers and mostly newspaper articles, copies of magazines, copies of different plans, copies of stories having to do with many, many subjects. And what was said was absolutely fine and very, very perfectly. We did nothing wrong. This is a whole hoax. I don't do things wrong. I do things right. I'm a legitimate person.
Do things wrong. I do not do things wrong. That defense is pretty funny on its face because it is incredibly well documented how much Trump did not handle documents well. But that defense and this video are extra interesting today because of this new reporting from the New York Times tonight. The Times reports that in addition to the search for classified documents down at Mar-a-Lago, special counsel Jack Smith's team also went over to Trump's Bedminster property and went through that place with a fine-tooth comb. Smith's office subpoenaed surveillance footage from Bedminster, just as they did at Mar-a-Lago. And after the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago last summer, they were concerned that Trump still had more documents stashed at Bedminster. The Times then goes on to describe yet another document saga, much like the one we already knew about at Mar-a-Lago, in which Smith's office, again, after having already searched Mar-a-Lago, asked Trump to provide a sworn statement that everything had been turned over. Trump refused. Smith's office then tried to get a subpoena so that they could search the Bedminster property. But minutes, literally minutes before the hearing, one of Trump's lawyers alerted the court that Trump's legal team had a, quote, team of professionals with military training searching Bedminster for classified materials. Smith's team got the judge to force Trump's legal team to sign a statement saying exactly which parts of Bedminster had been searched, because we know how it went down at Mar-a-Lago. And it really looks like Jack Smith did his homework on this one. But here is the thing. At least so far, special counsel Jack Smith does not appear to be charging Trump for what it seems he did on that tape up at Bedminster. There is no charge, not a single charge, in Trump's indictment about the dissemination of classified materials. There aren't even charges for anything that happened in the state of New Jersey. So far, the special counsel has just very narrowly charged Trump with 31 counts of the willful retention of national defense information, 3 counts of withholding or concealing documents in a federal investigation, 2 counts of making false statements to the FBI, and 1 count of obstruction of justice. And all of that is in the state of Florida. So what is special counsel Jack Smith doing here? Why has he, at least so far, why has he not used this tape as a smoking gun to charge Donald Trump with more crimes? Well, this is actually one of the rare cases in which we have sort of a hint from the man himself, the man being special counsel Jack Smith. This is a legal filing written by Smith and his team and submitted to the judge in Florida last week. In it, the special counsel's team describes its case like this. It has only 2 defendants, it involves straightforward theories of liability, and it does not present novel questions of fact or law. In other words, the case so far is simple. It is straightforward, and there is a ton of precedent. I mean, literally just last week, a former FBI analyst in Kansas was sentenced to multiple years in prison for the exact same charge that Donald Trump is now facing, the willful retention of national defense information. That FBI analyst was also keeping hundreds of classified documents in her bathroom. Apparently, bathrooms are a popular place for classified documents. So as wild as Trump's alleged crimes here are, they aren't even original. And it seems that that is the point. The way Jack Smith's indictment lays out Trump's discussion of classified documents at Bedminster doesn't seem to be using it as the basis for its own charge. Instead, the special counsel seems to be using this blockbuster tape, and it is a blockbuster, to bolster his other very straightforward charges with an incredible, pretty jaw-dropping example of Donald Trump's intent.